Spielberg comes out and says like, hey, this guy saved the industry. And that's obviously something that I assume you want to deflect to the entire team. And obviously you talk about your team in a way that any great leader would, any great coach would. You're talking about wanting to draw the best out of people and what is the talent we have, and then let's make the movie around that. That's a football coach. That is a sport coach. I love to hear your leadership. But whenever that is bestowed upon you during COVID, when they thought the movies were going to be dead, like everybody was going to stream, did you take that upon yourself? Did you feel a little bit of weight of the industry? And how have you kind of navigated that?
Well, what I did is basically, I did, because look, my friends, it's not just about the films I'm making. The difference in movies, I guess, and other sports is I've never felt competitive with other people. I'm like, I want everyone to do well. And so, I did. I just made sure that that mission got made, that when everything shut down, I really worked and had to take it on. And, I talked to McHugh, who writes and directs and produces these films, and I was like, we're gonna have to really do this, and I'm gonna stay in. Are you in? And so what I did was I just worked with the governments. I called one studio, and this is what I really did. I called the studio. I was like, "Yeah, you guys shooting?" He's like, "No, we can't. We're all shut down for that." I said, "Oh wow." I said, "We're shooting our movies," and they're like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, we're making our movies." And then so I called back a week later, and I was like, "How's it going?" They said, "Oh yeah, we're shooting our films." I said, "Because we're coming out next summer, And I said, "So, we're on this date. I hope you're not on this date." They're like, "Well, we're making our movie. We're coming out next summer." And then I called the studio that I was working with. I said, "Look, all these guys are making movies. We got to make movies." So, and I just kept everyone working throughout. So they were like, "Okay, we got to make movies." So then I was like, we had to finish Top Gun Maverick in post during COVID. And I was basically, everyone was kind of like, "No, you can't do this. No, you can't do that." I was like, always going, "Nah, I don't take no for an answer, really, Pat." I'm like, "Okay, well, there's got to be a solution." So I was calling like, we have to set up the rules. Let's make agreements so that we can get back to work. And then I was calling governments and getting agreements with them. And then I was sharing it with the other studios and my friends, saying, this is how we're doing it. And then just kind of saying, my crew's going to get paid during this time. I just kept everybody working. And then slowly, and not so slowly, before you know it, we're able to just make sure that we're creating, even our orchestra for Top Gun Maverick, we were able to get mics to people's apartments all over the world where they're recording their instruments and then combining those instruments to create a live orchestra, and just showing people, look, we can do this. We can do it safely. Let's create whatever rules so that we can move forward. And that's what I did. And I ensured that Top Gun Maverick did not go to streaming, that it was held for distribution. And I was calling all the theater owners globally that are my friends for decades, and the studio heads and all of us I said, look, this movie's coming out, period. It's coming out in theaters. And just kind of worked with everyone and said, look, we're all going to get through this. We're going to get through it. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And just working with friends and how to do it, how to navigate these channels and just keep people moving in the most efficient, creative way possible. And, just kind of night and day. It was 7 days a week, night and day, and creating these things. And you look at the film today, we made it through COVID and 2 strikes, and, just be relentless about it, and just make sure that people had jobs and that we were moving forward. And that's what happened. And it was very nice what Steven said. I've known Steven since I was a kid, and very grateful to everyone, that everyone kind of picked it up and everybody got back to work. But I was definitely kicking some doors through and kind of helping people to understand that this can be done, and we can move forward, and that the theatrical experience is very special.
Yeah, and we needed it too as a society. Top Gun Maverick, I want to let you know that Top Gun Maverick is one of the moments I look back. I think there was an Ole Miss baseball home run that I remember. It was the first time there was a crowd, and Ole Miss hit a home run, and the crowd went crazy in the outfield. I remember going to see Top Gun Maverick.
Yep.
That's like one of my rollouts of COVID here, like changing my, and I'm sure there's nowhere, I'm not the only one. This is a lot of people. So we are incredibly grateful for what you did, and I assume the movie industry echoes what Spielberg says in that entire thing. Now, speaking of the movie industry,
very nice.
we have somebody on, no, you're very nice, Tom. You're very nice, Tom. You're a spark plug, brother, for everything. You make everything better. You're an igniter, a trailblazer, a dog in every sense of the word. Warwick, cannot wait to watch Mission Impossible Final Reckoning tomorrow. The world is going to watch alongside of us, and I can't wait to see what you put out next.